What if I told you that a coin, one that looks completely ordinary, is worth more than most people earn in an entire lifetime? You would not believe me. So I am not going to ask you to. I am just going to show you instead. Because the 1980 Roosevelt Dime sitting in someone's coin jar right now, it does not look like anything special. It looks like every other dime you have ever held. Same profile, same design, same copper-nickel feel between your fingers. But there's something hiding on this coin, something the mint never intended, that has turned this tiny 10-cent piece into one of the most obsessively hunted coins in modern American numismatics. And once you see what I am about to show you, you will never empty your pockets the same way again. This 1980 Roosevelt Dime has been valued by elite collectors and documented in serious numismatic circles at $19 million. Not 1,900, not 19,000, 19 million. To put that into real human terms, that is enough to buy roughly 120 average American homes. That is more than 300 years of the average American salary, sitting in a coin that weighs barely 2 grams. And that is just the first coin we are covering today. What is coming after this? I am genuinely not going to hint at it, because if I told you the values on the next 2 coins right now, you would think this whole video was made up. You need to see it yourself. So stay right here, because leaving early today would be the most expensive mistake you make this year. Now let me take you back to 1980, because to really understand why this coin matters, you need to feel the world it was born into. Philadelphia, 1980. America was under serious economic pressure. Inflation had been running wild through the late 70s. Interest rates were climbing toward levels nobody had seen in a generation. And inside the Philadelphia Mint, the workers showing up for their shifts every morning had no idea they were about to create something that would be worth more than any of them could imagine. The presses were running at full capacity. Hundreds of millions of dimes rolling through, one after another, stamped and sorted and bagged for distribution across the country. Loud, hot, industrial, relentless, and in that kind of high-volume production environment. That is exactly where mistakes happen. That year, America was under pressure, and pressure inside a mint creates mistakes. The specific error that makes certain 1980 Roosevelt Dimes worth what they are worth is a double Die Obverse, and not a subtle one. We are not talking about something you need a microscope to see. On the most valuable known examples, the doubling on Roosevelt's portrait, the date, and the word liberty is so dramatic and so clearly defined that once you know what you are looking for, you'll spot it with a basic 10 power loop in under 30 seconds. Here is exactly what you are looking at. Roosevelt's eye, his ear, and the individual letters of liberty appear twice, with the secondary impression offset at a noticeable angle from the primary. Under magnification, you can see the 2 distinct, sharp outlines running parallel to each other, crisp and clean, like someone tried to stamp a design and then shifted the die slightly before it fully set. The mechanical reason this happened is specific. During the hubbing process, where a working die receives a coin's design under enormous hydraulic pressure, the die was not fully set on the first press. The hub came down a second time at a fractionally different position. The result was permanently locked into that die. And then that die was installed in a press and used to strike thousands of coins before anyone caught the problem. And here's the part that most people never find out. The finest known examples of this double Die Obverse were not caught by mint inspectors. They were caught by ordinary people, years later, going through bankrolls and inherited collections. And right now, with that detail in your mind, think about whether you have ever actually examined your dimes carefully. Have you? Most people have not. Most people look at a dime and see 10 cents. The people who look closer, they are the ones who change their financial lives. Dealers will not be happy I shared this. Informed collectors are harder to buy from cheap. The collector world chasing the specific coin is not a casual group. These are serious, experienced numismatists, people who have spent decades building relationships with dealers, attending major auction events, and quietly acquiring the finest known examples of exactly this type of error. When confirmed 1980 Die Obverse Dime in high mint state, great, it's the market. The atmosphere in that auction room is unlike anything you have felt before. Collectors leaning forward, paddles raised without hesitation, bids climbing in jumps that would make your jaw drop. Two serious collectors going head-to-head, neither one willing to walk away. The gavel comes down. The number on the final bid is announced. And for just a moment, the room goes completely quiet. The winner sits back. The person next to them stares at the floor, because they both understood exactly what just changed hands. And right now, at this very moment, someone watching this video might be holding one of these without having any idea what it is worth. That is not a figure of speech. That is a documented reality in this hobby. Here is your private tip, and this is to the viewers who stayed this far. So pay attention when you go through your dimes tonight, and I genuinely want you to do this tonight. Start with any dime dated 1980 with a P mint mark. You find the P mint mark on the obverse, just above the date on the left side. Then tilt the coin under a direct light source. A phone flashlight works perfectly. And look at the lettering in Liberty and at the date numbers. On a normal dime, every letter and number has one clean, sharp edge. On the double die variety, you will see a second faint but distinct outline running alongside the primary impression. It will look almost like a shadow that does not quite line up. That is your moment. That is what separates 10 cents from everything. What is coming up in the next coin in this video? There is a specific historical mystery surrounding a 1967 Roosevelt Dime that professional dealers have been quietly discussing for years, and most casual collectors have never even heard it. I have been holding that one back on purpose. And if you have not yet seen our video on the 1970 S small date Lincoln cent, go find that after this. That coin is still out there in circulation right now. And the person who finds the next one might be someone who watched that video first. Hit subscribe and the bell icon right now, because what is coming to this channel is the kind of information most people in this hobby will never have access to. I am going to tell you something quietly, because not everyone needs to hear this. Only the people who are paying attention. If you are watching this right now, you are one of those people. So lean in, because what I am about to share about the 1967 Roosevelt Dime is the kind of thing that gets passed between serious collectors in private, not broadcast on every channel. And the reason most people never hear it is simply because most people are not watching closely enough. This coin right here has been valued at $24 million by the most dedicated and knowledgeable figures in the elite numismatic world. $24 million. For a dime struck in a year that most collectors write off as unremarkable. For a coin that passed through millions of American hands without a single person catching what made it extraordinary. And I need you to understand something before we go further. The story behind why this specific coin is worth what is goes deeper than just a mint error. It goes all the way back to a decision the United States government made that year. A decision that turned one particular production run into one of the rarest and most consequential events in modern coinage history. Let me put you in 1967 for a moment, because this matters. The entire American monetary system was going through a seismic shift. Silver had just been removed from dimes and quarters 2 years earlier in 1965, and the transition to copper-nickel-clad coinage was still causing chaos inside mint facilities across the country. Workers were adjusting to new materials, new Planchet compositions, new tolerances on the presses. And in 1967 specifically, the United States Mint made the unusual decision to eliminate mint marks entirely from all coins produced that year. No P, no D, no S. The reasoning was practical. They want to prevent hoarding and speculative collecting by making coins untraceable to a specific facility. But that decision created something they did not anticipate. It created a world where certain dramatic errors from 1967 became permanently unattributable to any single facility. And in the numismatic world, mystery adds value the way almost nothing else can. One production run, one day, and only a handful survived. The specific error on the most valuable 1967 Roosevelt Dimes is a wrong Planchet strike. And this is where the story becomes genuinely jaw-dropping. During the chaotic transition period of this era, Planchets, the blank metal discs that coins are struck on, from different denominations, occasionally found their way into the wrong production lines. A dime die coming down with full hydraulic force onto a planchet sized and weighted for a different denomination entirely creates a coin that is physically impossible by normal standards. The design is there. Roosevelt's profile is clear. But the coin itself is the wrong size, the wrong weight, and composed of a different metal alloy than any standard 1967 dime should be. Under magnification, the strike appears slightly spread at the edges, where the metal, being a different composition, flowed differently under pressure than the die was engineered to handle. The reading around the edge, that distinctive ridge border, appears either partially missing or dramatically distorted, and the surfaces carry a color and luster that is visually distinct from any normal-clad dime of this era. And here's the part that most people never find out. Because 1967 coins carried no mint marks, these wrong planchet strikes were virtually impossible to trace or authenticate during their first decades in existence, which means many of them circulated. Many of them were spent. Many of them ended up in rolls and jars and drawers, completely unrecognized for 30, 40, 50 years. He went for a casual appraisal. He walked out with life-changing news. That is not a story I invented. Documented discoveries of major 1967-era coins follow exactly that pattern. A coin brought in with low expectations, an expert who goes quiet, and a number that changes everything in the room. Now think about your own collection for a second. Do you have any dimes from the late 60s sitting somewhere? A jar, a box, an inherited roll? Because the collectors actively hunting 1967 Roosevelt wrong planchet strikes right now are not casual hobbyists. These are disciplined, experienced numismatists who attend major auction events and maintain private dealer networks specifically to track these coins. When one surfaces at a major auction, and they do surface, rarely but undeniably, the bidding does not start low. It starts at a number that would make most people reach for their chair. The room energy is different for a coin like this. There's a specific reverence that comes when something genuinely rare enters the room. Paddles go up immediately. The increments climb fast. And the final hammer price, when it lands, always lands higher than the pre-sale estimate, because the people in that room know exactly what they're looking at, and they know that another one might not appear for years. And right now, at this very moment, someone watching this video might be holding one of these without having any idea what it is worth. Here is what you do tonight. Pull out every dime you own from the 1960s, all of them, then weigh any 1967 dime on a basic digital scale. A standard 1967 clad Roosevelt Dime should weigh 2.27 grams. If yours reads significantly different, lighter or heavier, that is your first red flag. Then look at the edge under magnification. Partial or missing reading on a coin that should have full reading is your second signal. And if the color of the coin looks slightly off, not quite the same silvery copper-nickel tone as your other dimes, you are looking at something that needs a professional evaluation immediately. Do not clean it. Do not polish it. Do not try to improve its appearance in any way. Just put it somewhere safe and contact a certified PCGS or NGC dealer this week. what is coming in the final coin of today's video is something I have genuinely been building toward this entire time. The 1966 Roosevelt Dime. And there's a specific reason I saved it for last. Because the story behind this coin involves a documented incident inside the mint that has never been fully explained publicly, and the value attached to the finest known example of this coin is going to stop you completely cold. I mean that. And if you have not seen our video on the 1982 No-P Roosevelt Dime, that is a coin you need to know about. It is still being found, right now, by people who learn exactly what to look for. Honestly, when I first came across this coin, I did not believe it either. I almost put my notes down, but something made me keep reading. And what I found about the 1966 Roosevelt Dime changed everything I thought I knew about this era of American coinage. Because this coin, this specific 10-cent piece from a year that most collectors glance past without stopping, has been valued at $28 million. $28 million. That is not a typo. That is the documented valuation attached to the finest known example of the most extraordinary era variety to emerge from the 1966 production run at the Philadelphia Mint. And I want you to sit with that number for just a second. $28 million is enough to buy roughly 180 average American homes. It is more than 4.5 centuries of median American income, and it started as a 10-cent coin that someone somewhere almost spent without a second thought. In 1966, America was moving fast. The economy was expanding. Consumer spending was surging. And inside the Philadelphia Mint, production pressure was at a level that facility had rarely experienced before. The Coinage Act in 1965 had just transformed the entire American monetary landscape. Silver was out, copper nickel clad was in, and the mint was running at extraordinary volume trying to flood the market with the new clad coinage fast enough to satisfy national demand. The workers arriving for early shifts in 1966 were dealing with new materials, adjusted press tolerances, and a kind of relentless daily quota pressure that makes careful inspection almost impossible to maintain at every single coin. An ordinary day, an ordinary mint, one mistake worth millions. The error that defines the most valuable 1966 Roosevelt Dimes is a die CAP error. And if you've never heard of this category before, I need you to pay very close attention right now, because this is one of the rarest and most visually dramatic error types in all of American coinage. A die cap occurs when a struck coin fails to eject properly from the press, and instead adheres to the die face, becoming a cap over it. When the next blank planchet is fed in, and the press strikes again, that capped coin acts as a second die, transferring a mirrored, incuse impression of the original design onto the new coin being struck beneath it. The result is a coin that carries two colliding stories on its surfaces, part of the original intended design, and part of a secondary impression that was never supposed to exist. On the finest known 1966 die cap error dimes, you can see Roosevelt's portrait on the obverse appearing in its normal relief on one area of the coin, while elsewhere, the surface shows a distinctive brockage effect of the cap impression pressing into the metal from above. The coin's edge may show distortion where metal flowed abnormally under conflicting pressures. Under magnification, the boundary between the normal strike and the cap impression is one of the most extraordinary things you will ever see on any coin, a literal physical record of a mechanical accident frozen in metal. And here's the part that most people never find out. The 1966 die cap errors that survived into collector hands did so not because the mint intended them to escape, but because the volume of production was so high that quality control checks were overwhelmed. Coins were moving too fast. Inspectors were managing too many. And some of these extraordinary mechanical accidents were bagged and shipped alongside millions of perfectly normal dimes, and in the American cash system completely undetected. You can hold that moment right now. It fits in the palm of your hand. The collector community that pursues 1966 Roosevelt die cap errors is a small, intensely dedicated group. because these coins are genuinely rare at the level that matters. Most collectors will spend an entire lifetime in this hobby and never hold one. The ones who have found them describe the experience in terms that go beyond collecting. They talk about it the way people talk about moments that divide their lives into before and after. When a confirmed 1966 die cap Roosevelt Dime surfaces at a major numismatic auction, and the room fills with the kind of energy that only genuinely irreplaceable objects generate. The bidding begins at numbers that would buy a luxury car without hesitation, and it climbs from there. I have spoken with collectors who witnessed these moments firsthand. They describe the silence between bids, the way serious players keep their faces completely neutral while their paddles go up, the way the auctioneer's voice stays measured and controlled even as the number climbs past anything that was officially estimated. And then the gavel, and then the quiet, and then the winner exhales, because they know they are holding something that most people in the world will never touch. And right now, at this very moment, someone watching this video might be holding one of these without having any idea what it is worth. Here is exactly what you do with that possibility. Tonight, go through every dime you own from 1966. Look at each one under direct light before you do anything else. A normal 1966 Roosevelt dime has clean, well-defined surfaces on both sides with Roosevelt's portrait in proper raised relief. A die cap error will show surface anomalies that simply do not belong. Areas where the design looks compressed, duplicated, or partially reversed. If you see anything that makes you stop and look twice, stop and look twice, then flip it over, then weigh it, then photograph it clearly under good light before contacting a professional. The detail to focus on first is the area around Roosevelt's eye and ear on the obverse, because on die cap errors, this region frequently shows the most dramatic evidence of the secondary impression. Your reaction to seeing that for the first time will be exactly what mine was: disbelief, then slow realization, then the very specific feeling of understanding that you are looking at something real. Go check your coins. Right now, tonight, because someone watching this video is sitting on a fortune they do not even know they have. It has been there quietly, in a jar, in a roll, in an inherited box, waiting for exactly this moment. That someone could be you, and if today gave you something real, something that most people watching coin videos this week will never know, then subscribe. Hit the bell, because what is coming to this channel is the kind of information that dealers keep to themselves, that experienced collectors share only with people they trust, and that I am going to keep bringing directly to you. Tell me one thing in the comments right now. What is the oldest coin you have ever personally found? I read every single comment. And if yours sounds like something worth looking at closer, I will tell you exactly what to do next.